So we are live. I'm going to wait for some people to join. But whilst we kind of wait, I'm going to kind of like explain because with CJ, it's the first time you've been on my channel. So I'm going to give a little introduction in terms of like how these lives usually go. I haven't done enough lives this year. So I'm trying to get interesting people. I'm focused at the moment on particularly Black entrepreneurs and really trying to just talk about our journey, really, because our journey is definitely unique, but it can help everybody. It's not specific to any one type of people, but I definitely wanted to feel like I had more people on the channel to represent the Black community as well. So yeah, so a lot of people watch after the fact as well. So if you're watching this and it's not live and you're watching after the fact, please make sure you go and follow CJ. I've got his YouTube channel in the description. I'm going to be leaving links to his website, his Instagram as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to him or pop them in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer them. But this is literally just a casual conversation. I'm not going to be keep here long. Just talking about entrepreneurship, speaking about CJ's journey, and some of the things that we can all learn really from your journey, CJ, as an entrepreneur, and where you've come from, some of the lessons that you've learned. I've watched some of your videos as well, which has been really inspiring for me in the journey that I'm going on in my career as well. So yeah, I'm going to leave the floor with you for a little while. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business, and yeah, what it is you're currently doing, and then we'll go into the past stuff and how you got there a little bit later.
Yeah, no, amazing, man. Thank you so much for bringing me on your channel. We've spoken at length, to be honest, from when you came to Birmingham. I'm actually at the Birmingham Rep at the moment. I've got rehearsals for a show that we're doing in May, which I can put more information about in the future. But yeah, notwithstanding that, I am a writer and more recently a social entrepreneur and entrepreneur as well. My background is in the I've come from the art sector, so primarily it's growing up it was all about performing arts really, and then as I got older I realized that it's very difficult to sustain a career in the arts, particularly when you're trying to be in the creative side of things. You can get a role as like a marketing assistant or an admin or finance or whatever kind of roles that they have in every organization. But if you want to be more in the creative side of things, have more of a creative platform and voice within an institution, you have to be more of a freelancer or an associate artist of some sort. So I quickly realized that, for me, it was, if I wanted to pursue this career as a playwright, as a theatre director, producer, I was going to have to, build on those entrepreneurial skills. So, the story was that when I got to London, I essentially did my master's in London, and I went and applied for a lot of jobs, faced a lot of rejection, and then from the back of that, I kind of just decided, you know what, I'm just going to set up my own thing. So I set up my first business, which was, well, technically my second business, which was called Sorrow Park Theatrical, and I was going into schools teaching creative writing to young disadvantaged children, and particularly those that weren't engaging with the English language and curriculum. Felt like there was a real niche there. I spoke about it on my channel about how when I first went into the schools, because I didn't have that entrepreneurial background, I didn't really know about, the fact you have to sell yourself really. You have to you can have a great program, but if you don't know how to sell, your services, people say, oh yeah, that's brilliant, when can you come in? But like they weren't really like saying, okay, when are you, how much is this going to cost, and etc etc, because I used to feel quite bad talking about money because I felt like it was like I was cheapening the service, but actually I was putting more value on my service. I think it was something, because I didn't have anyone around me that was in the entrepreneurial space, I kind of was just setting up that business and just going with the flow really. But the more I realized that people were resonating with the program, the more I realized, actually, you know, in order to put food on the table, I need to figure out how I'm going to sell this, how I'm going to create packages to offer the different schools that I was going into. And so I mentioned it in my video, but yeah, I spoke to my wife a lot because she works in schools. She knows the lingo that they'd be looking for. You know, she knows where the different pots of money would come from and stuff like that. So I knew exactly how to pitch to the different schools that I was going to for that particular business. So if it was a state school, obviously I'd be looking more at pupil premium children that, you know, would get additional, the school would get additional funds to you know, offer different programs for those children who come from a disadvantaged background. So I'll be trying to tap into kind of that type of money, and obviously I would you know, attribute the cost to that, and make sure it was applicable to that school. Whereas if it was a private school I was going into, I knew that the funds would probably be coming from the parents, so it would be more of an after school club. So, you know, that was how my entrepreneurial journey started. It was very much, I wanted to create something so that I could, yes, pursue my theatre career, but also put food on the table. Now, you know, there were a lot of barriers. That was one of them, you know, knowing how to sell and how to, you know, put a price on my services, because I didn't really know anyone that was doing something similar. But then I think the second barrier was the confidence, you know, the confidence to venture into something new. You know, I knew that I had to do it, but I didn't necessarily know how sustainable it was going to be. You know, there were weeks where I was going into schools and not getting paid because I'd already sold the service to them without actually asking for any money. So I was in there, and then I had to kind of reverse that and say, oh well, you know, I've been in here for a few weeks now. This is how much. You know? And then I started saying about, you know, you've had a trial period. So how did you find the program? Got testimonials and things like that, and then they kind of started inching towards paying me after that. But yeah, I think it made me, going through that process made me very much realize that there was value in what I was doing and that people would pay for it. But I think also it made me realize that I didn't really want to be a solopreneur anymore, in the sense of me having to kind of bear the brunt of going into schools, doing all the workshops, doing all the reviews, you know, doing everything myself. I knew that there was something in the flexibility, but I knew that I wanted to build a team around me that would be able to help. And then COVID happened, so I had to kind of park that business for a little while because, like you say, and what your channel is all about, you know, creating those digital elements for your business. I didn't have any of those, and I didn't really know that that was a thing. You know, at this point now, I look back, I think, well, why didn't I just do online programs? Like, kids would have been crying out for that, parents would have been crying out for that at that point. I could have done so many digital, like, I could have created packs, I could have created online courses, seminars, webinars, whatever for the children, and just done it as a video series. But I just didn't have that acumen at that time. You know, I didn't, the thought process wasn't in my mind. It's only now I've set up the Black Pounds Project, which is a whole different initiative, which we can go on to talk about. But I think the main thing I would like to say about Black Pounds is that there's power in your network. So once you have a network that not only believes in you, but just they have their own skill set and they're not kind of trying to piggyback off the back of what you're doing. When people have their own thing,
yeah,
that's a genuine network, because you know that you can add value to them and they can add value to you. So I think through Black Pounds, it allowed me to widen my network. And so as a result of that, I started to become more inept at business, you know, at business, and understood what things you need to put in place in order to not have to be doing everything yourself. You know, the hard thing about running that initial business was, if I was having an off day or I wasn't feeling well, you know, I still had to go into the school because I wasn't going to get paid otherwise. That I didn't have anyone else to run the program for me. So, yeah, I think that's kind of the journey of how I kind of got started. Yeah, I think.
Okay. So, like, there's a lot in there, and I think one of the things that stands out to me is, like, you realizing during the pandemic how important it was to have like online assets for your business, and a lot of people I think, had a similar realization of, oh my goodness, we're in a global pandemic. How am I going to reach my customers? How am I going to reach the people who usually I would interact with on a day-to-day basis without the need of the internet, kind of thing?
Yeah.
So what were kind of like the main struggles that you feel like you faced during that period in terms of getting online? Was there anything that you in particular was difficult, or was it kind of smooth sailing for you?
So I mean, I transitioned more to doing things on Instagram. So I started off like doing little stories on Instagram, doing little short videos and whatnot. And yeah, because I set up my YouTube channel more recently, but I probably wish I would have set it up back then, because I could have just churned out content. But I guess timing is everything. But I think that the pain points in that regard was just, I didn't really know where to go for the information. I know that sounds silly now because I know there's channels like yours out there, and I could have just literally been on YouTube. But I think I didn't. I think it's ironic to say. Sorry, guys, if you hear a bit of noise in the background, they're literally at rehearsal, so there's like and all sorts going on. But
no, the noise is fine.
Okay, I think it's, hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? You know, what could I've done differently? Like if I was in the position now, I know exactly what I would have done. But I think back then I just found it difficult to know what I should have focused on, because for me, at that point I was like, oh, I can't get into any schools. How do I maintain the relationship with the schools? As opposed to thinking, how do I create more programs that reach the customers that I'm trying to reach, which was the parents. Because my I guess my clientele had shifted, because at that point it was very much focused on the relationship with the schools. They would then, word of mouth, and then it would get into another school, so on and so forth. But really, whilst that was going on, once I'd finished running a session at school, I should have been going home and creating my online programs, so that even if the school still wanted the program during the pandemic, I could have said, oh, I've moved everything digitally, so you can still continue paying me the same thing, but just send this out to the students instead. It would have been a really easy transition. But the thought process just wasn't there, because I think I was in a state of panic, because I was like, how am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to put food on the table? I think, obviously, fortunately, I had my, theatre career and things like that to keep me going. But, for me, it was important to have both, because if the, theatres were closed as well. So I'd fortunately had a commission to write a play, which fortunately got put on last year. But had that have collapsed as well, I would have been in a pretty difficult position. So yeah, I was very fortunate in that regard. But I think for me, that's why I always stress the importance of having a good solid foundation of, people around you that can support you in certain areas. Like I know now, if there's anything digital, we've got the group on Facebook, and I can just drop something in there. And I know that you, Nigel, or Sam will have, not Sam, sorry. What's his name? I forgot his name now. Well, one of you would have the answer. You know what I mean? So it's just a case of building those little small pockets of communities, I guess, where you can draw on people's expertise and vice versa. And I enjoy being able to bring people like yourself into the world that I work in, the theatre and the arts sector, because I think sometimes doors are very much closed and you don't know how to get in there. But it's, once you know someone in there that it can vouch for you, then it's quite simple.
100%. Yeah. So what are some of the tips you would give to like someone starting out in business? Like if you can go back to when you kind of were first discovering yourself as an entrepreneur and stepping out, what are some of the things you encountered that maybe would make somebody else's journey a little bit easier, or a few things you wish you knew if you could go back and kind of talk to your younger self?
I think start small, but just focus on that thing 100%, because I think what happens at times, particularly with a lot of the young guys that I work with that that I'm mentoring that are trying to set up like clothing brands and things like that. They're always like, okay, I'm going to get my product line, I'm going to get this and that. Half of them, you know, they don't even really have clarity on their finances, you know, and how they're going to fund all of these amazing projects. So it's harnessing in on the important things first, such as, you know, making sure you have your finances in order. Make sure that you're investing time in things that are going to add value to your business. So for me, it would have been, you know, I could have went on a course to do with like your SEO training courses that I'm doing at the moment, you know, things like that, which can just help you to bring more focus to what you're doing. So, for example, you know, if you're setting up like a digital or online program, you know, how are you going to get people to come to that program? So first it's having a passion for the subject that you're speaking about. So for me, if it's a writing course, which I'm currently working on, it's making sure that I'm still pursuing my passion outside of my business. You know, I research about writing, I learn about writing, I go on courses because I'm passionate about that. So then then everything I do with my YouTube channel and anything outside of that, I naturally just speak about writing because I'm passionate about it. So your business should kind of ooze from you anyway. It shouldn't feel like, oh, my business, this and that. It should just be a part of who you are. You just naturally speak about it because you're that passionate about it. So if you want to go down the entrepreneurial route, just make sure you're really passionate about what it is that you're going to spend time doing, because ultimately, you know, get the 9 to 5 thing out of your head if you want to run a business, because you're going to be on it, you know, silly hours. And that's a thing you have to kind of just get to grips with. And if you don't have that passion for it, it's going to feel like, you know, you're going to have a terrible time, because it's going to very much be a part of who you are if you want to run a successful enterprise. And then I think the second thing for me is it gets to a point where I guess your customers, and when you expand your reach, they will almost validate for you the need for your service. So if you're kind of running a business and you realize that, you know, you're getting customers that want to speak to you, you're getting stakeholders that want to connect with you and whatnot, so for example, when I was running my first business, it was very much me. I was going into the school. If the schools didn't contact me, there wasn't really very much going on, you know. Whereas this business, whilst I'm sleeping, there's stuff going on, whether it's people booking a video course, maybe they're emailing me saying, oh, the link isn't working, blah, blah, blah. Whether it's positive or negative, things are happening. So, you know, then you start to realize, actually, I can't just, particularly for this organization, I can't just do it, you know, single track mindedly. I have to think about the bigger picture, you know, and how, and if this grows and if this scales, or if we're doing this project, who's going to lead it, and so on and so forth. So the people who take an interest in what you're doing will validate, you know, the need for what you're doing. So it might not come overnight, and for some people it might take years to get to that point. But I think there will come a point, particularly if you have that passion and it's a service that people, you know, are benefiting from, there will be a point where it starts to run itself and you're kind of just trying to guide the direction. That was something I probably didn't understand starting out, because I thought that really I would have to do everything. And I was pretty much doing everything. I wasn't outsourcing anything. I was doing all the marketing, all the emails, all the, you know, I wasn't using any platforms at all to kind of make my life easier. So I think for me, it's just making sure that people know what areas to invest in their business, because there's so much information out there about, oh, buy this course, buy this program or whatever. But really and truly, it's anything that's going to benefit you personally, you know, anything that's going to help you run your business better, that's worth investing in. Anything else, then you should really be researching as to why that is, you know, something you should be bringing in. Because at first I was spending money on ridiculous stuff that I didn't actually need. So it's find out what you need.
And I find that as well with a lot of entrepreneurs, like a lot of the things you've been saying, just spending money in places that potentially they don't even need to be spending money, and not investing enough in education. Because if you know, the more you know, the less money you'll waste. and the better you'll use your time. Like you'll use your time a lot more productively. And I love what you said at the beginning of, you know, starting small. Like my mantra at the beginning of my career was, I'm going to start small, but I'm going to dream big.
Yeah.
So starting small doesn't mean you stay small, but if you try to launch something too big, then you can fail and fall on your feet. Like, you know, the biggest foundation, the biggest buildings have the deepest foundations.
100%.
So you need to like make sure you're starting small, but making sure you still have that ambition to be like, okay, cool, I'm not going to be here forever. I'm going to grow and I'm going to build this into something. So the last kind of like 5 to 10 minutes, I want you to speak about the Black Pounds project, and why you started that. Why was that so important for you? What's the meaning behind it? And how can some of my subscribers and followers who might be watching this video, how can we get behind that and support you on that journey?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the Black Pounds project is a really, really significant project. And I think, well, it's a significant business that has really helped to raise my profile within the business community. So as I mentioned, I'm a writer, I'm a theatre maker. So my primary focus has always been on the arts. But I realized that there was a lot of synergy between what was happening in the art sector and what was happening in the business sector in terms of access and being able to reach people. And so ironically, where I am now at the Birmingham Rep, when the George Floyd protest happened, they were right outside, you know, this central location. And so I thought to myself, well, we've got all these amazing people here, you know, that are protesting in solidarity. And obviously this was a very different period in time where we were all in lockdown. That was probably the first time people were coming together anyway. People weren't at work, they weren't able to go on holiday, they couldn't do anything, so they couldn't kind of hide away from or ignore the issues that were right in their face. But the significant thing about that protest was that I saw people from all different walks of life. It wasn't just Black people. It was, you know, I think what resonated with me the most was there was a little blonde 6-year-old girl. And then I saw on the opposite side, there was an Asian guy. And then there was a middle-aged Black guy. You know, there's so many different people from all different cultures. And I just thought to myself, well, this is amazing, but are we ever going to come together and have a conversation and see what we can do to move this initiative forward? You know, and it's about inclusion. I think sometimes people see the word Black and they think that they can't have a voice, or they can't have, you know, the opportunity to help. But for me, it was about, if you have some expertise in some area and you want to do something to help, you know, someone who's up and coming that might be from a Black, diverse or disadvantaged community, please come to the community, come to the project and share your expertise, because a lot of where people are falling short in the art sector and in the business sector is because of access to information and access to the people who have you know, knowledge and insight and experiences that they can share, so that you avoid going down, you know, the similar routes, you know, like I did, going into schools not knowing that I had to actually mention the price of my program. I couldn't just go in and say, yeah, here's a program, because they'll just take that from you, but they won't actually pay you for it.
Yeah.
Value of it yourself, but then they don't also value it because it's something you're just doing, you know, off the cuff, in their opinion. So it's just little things like that. And so the project was all about bringing people together to, if they had questions about, you know, what the barriers are that people are facing, we can discuss that and reason about it in a safe space. It's very much about pushing positivity at the front of the agenda, because for me, there's always going to be conversations around, you know, the issues, but there's not always a lot of solutions that we come up with. So I didn't have the answers in you know, I didn't necessarily think that Black Pounds project would become what it has become. But at that point, I just knew, surely if I put this out there, someone will resonate with it. You know, I've experienced lots of rejection, you know, with jobs, writing opportunities, acting opportunities. I've experienced rejection. So I wasn't really concerned about whatever people thought about what I was trying to do. I literally put out there a fundraising campaign. I said, basically I was thinking, imagine if everybody at the protest donated £2. What could we do with that money to support the Black community that we're protesting for?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I started to think, well, apparently, you know, I heard that there's 1.2 million Black people in Britain or the UK. What could we do if we all donated £2? So this was just my thought process. Like, there's 5,000 people at the protest. If we all gave £1 instead of spending the money on paint and pick arts, we could probably do something with that money that's tangible, that actually, you know, we can create resources and whatever. So I just started to think like that. So I put out the fundraiser, and within three weeks we had £6,000 raised. And so I knew from that point there was something in this, and that I now had a responsibility to push it forward. And for me, where I know how difficult it is for people to part with their money, you know, particularly speaking about people of color. So I knew that I was not going to let them down, and I just had to make sure. So what I did was I literally made it my mission to find as many business professionals in the region as possible, and just had a conversation with them about what they think the issues are and how they could contribute to supporting, you know, the businesses that we want to help. And, you know, so I met with an amazing lady called Sue. She runs the Midlands Business Leadership Academy. Shout out Sue, because she helped me put together a whole kind of mentorship scheme program that businesses can access. I made that freely accessible to all members. So our membership starts from £5 a month, and you can access the mentorship, you can access the resources. Obviously, if you need more support than that, then it's a slightly higher fee, just in terms of, you know, making sure that we can sustain the project. But the whole idea is to increase visibility for small, diverse businesses, and just making sure that they have a place to go. If they're struggling a little bit with their business, if they want a bit of advice, they have a place to go. Because definitely when I was starting out my business, I didn't have that. So I think for everyone who is on the call, you know, regardless of race, ethnicity, if you need some support with your business, I would highly recommend coming to the Black Pounds Project, because I've seen how far the business has grown, how far I've grown just from being a part of it. And, you know, I'm at the head of it, I'm at the helm of it, but it's very much the people that are supporting the businesses, you know, one-to-one, delivering the coaching sessions, creating the resources, creating the video series. It's all of that resource that you know you'd be getting at a price that you wouldn't be able to get elsewhere, and I can confidently say that. So, you know, I think for me, it's just, if you want support of your business, if you want to meet with someone who's made a decent living from their business, and they know how to go about navigating, networking, how to, you know, the areas of your business that you should focus on if you really want to skyrocket it, how to access finance, you know, best way to write bids and tenders. That's everything that we offer through the project. And it's taken, and that's why I mentioned before about network, because people believed in me and what I was trying to do, and they know that, you know, it's coming from a genuine place, because my primary focus is always going to be, and my heart is always going to be with the arts. But I know that there was synergy, and I knew that there was a reason why the project was getting so much traction. But for me, you know, it goes beyond race. This is about supporting people who need help. And if you need help, if you want to grow your business, if you want to grow your sole trade, if you want to start a business, that's what the project is set up to do. So don't be shy. Just drop an email, drop me a message, and get kickstarted, man. You know, you can get kickstarted for literally £5 a month. That's less than I think that's less than a Big Mac meal. You know, just,
I was thinking the same thing, less than a McDonald's meal. And like we mentioned before, like having that support and having that knowledge and knowing where to go can really help you to avoid some of the pitfalls that a lot of people face when starting a business. So yeah, I'm gonna leave some of the information to the Black Pounds Project in the description. Thank you so much, CJ, for sharing your journey. I think you have an amazing video as well that I watched on your channel that you put out recently, about your marriage and how that has helped positively with your business and just your career going forward, kind of thing. And I think that's not really spoken about enough, which is kind of like how your personal life impacts your business life. You know, a lot of the time we're just supposed to be professional all of the time, but actually what happens at home or what happens in our friendship circles and in our lives has a direct impact on the resources that we have available for our business, and emotionally how much we're able to give and invest and so on and so forth. So I'm definitely going to leave links to all of those in the description of this video as well. But just to we've just hit the half an hour mark, so where can we find you? What if people want more information from you, what website should they go to? I've got a website here that people can go to, which is CJLoydWebley.com. But is there any other socials? You know, where can people hit you up?
Yeah, of course. So you can find me on Instagram. I do little videos on there, little skits sometimes, trying a little acting thing. You know, my guys say that I need to bring that a bit more. So yeah, CJ Loyd Webley on all social media channels. So that's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. You can find me on LinkedIn, CJ Loyd Webley. And yeah, it's literally just reach out to me anytime. And yeah, that's my channels.
Awesome.
Also, just wanted to mention, if anyone is interested in writing, I do have the Writers Club as well. So there's a Writers Club Facebook group that you can yeah, just message me about, and I'll send you the link to that if you're interested.
Awesome, CJ. I appreciate you coming on. This is the first, but it's definitely not the last. I'm going to bring you back on to talk about how you've marketed your business, some of the things you've encountered in terms of like your website, SEO struggles, things you've overcome, how you've promoted. You know, we've spoken briefly about pricing structure and how there's a lot of things I want to go into in the next one in terms of like you delivered a great service, and so the schools wanted to actually invest in that later on down the line, which is marketing in itself. You know, the product should sell itself, but then also kind of making changes and adapting based on what you knew people were buying or the schools were actually going to buy. So repackaging it in a certain way. So yeah, it's the first, but it's not the last. Hopefully we can get you back on as well and discussing a few things. But we really appreciate you being on. Thank you for being so open. Like I said, I'm a true fan of your YouTube channel as well and the content that you're putting out. So I'm subscribed and following along. So all of you who are watching this live or after the fact, make sure you're following CJ as well. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much. Appreciate the opportunity, man. Let's catch up soon.
No problem. Take it easy.
Take care.
All right.